I hate sand. It's rough and it's coarse, and it gets everywhere.
Hey everyone, welcome to our episode 2 Attack of the Clones review. This is the second one, obviously. If you haven't checked out our first one, go check out our first one first, and then come back over here so you can watch them in order as we review them in order.
Chronological
order. Yes.
Attack of the Clones. My first memories of Attack of the Clones was the teaser poster. I walked into my hometown theater and I saw it was all big, right front and center, and it was such a beautiful picture of Anakin back to back with Padme. I just fell in love with her right there. I was too young for Phantom Menace, and she was pretty young too in that. I was 6, but I was actually older, and my first crush ever was Natalie Portman in that movie, because of that movie and that poster. I just fell in love. She was just breathtaking, and those two together, it was just such a cool poster. Probably one of my favorite teaser posters of all time. I mean, it's like a Jedi does not share love or stuff, like, or love. It just said all that stuff about being a Jedi and you can't love. And it was like, wow, that's really emotional.
It did have some of the coolest posters.
Yeah.
I mean, episode 1 had some cool stuff, but episode 2, they kind of kicked it up in the way of posters and stuff like that, and it looked really cool. I did like it as well. And Padme, I thought it was really interesting that they got Hayden Christensen to opposite Padme, or to opposite
Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
Thank you, Natalie Portman. Him being kind of, I guess her being at that point not a very well, not a super well seasoned actor or actress, but he was not seasoned at all.
Yeah.
And so they got somebody who was kind of an interesting pick, I think, for Anakin. And a lot of people didn't like him as Anakin. I don't mind him. He kind of plays that, I know I'm a Jedi. I used to not be a Jedi. I've left my mom. I love this girl. A lot of
angst. He's got teenage angst. He reminds me a lot of James Dean. A lot of people praise James Dean for how he acted, and then if you put it side by side with Hayden Christensen, they almost had the same hairdo, and I was just like, dang, he was like James Dean. And very much, it's just crazy how people criticize Hayden for how he acted all angsty in these and moody, and then they praise guy who played Kylo Ren, Adam Driver, for oh, great performance, but he was doing the same thing too,
just times 30.
That. Yeah, just that. Yeah,
he had actual outbreaks and
throwing fits.
He was
Darth
he was
tantrum.
A child when Hayden played Anakin as a teenager.
Yeah,
and it's funny because Kylo Ren's, I'm pretty sure, supposed to be a little older. Then at that point than what Anakin was.
Yeah.
At his point, I guess you could say. That was kind of funny. I liked this performance. This is my least favorite movie of the 3 prequels, but that doesn't mean there's not good elements. There's a lot of good elements, including some of the scenes that are super cheesy with Hayden, and the love scenes and the sand scene and the fireplace room scene. Mm-hmm. Those are kind of cheesy, but
I wish I could just wish my feelings away.
But, I mean, they do add to the story in a way. Mm-hmm. We talked about for Phantom Menace in our review, we talked about how if you took the story out of Star Wars and then put that story on Earth and made all the characters human, it would be considered a good movie. If you did the same thing to this movie, it would maybe not be as good as what the first one would be, what Phantom Menace would be, but it would be considered a better movie than I think what a lot of people consider it to be, which is, I think, really interesting. It also had some pretty darn sick battle scenes.
Oh, yeah. Whoa. The most Jedi we've seen in action ever, and probably ever will.
Dude, that scene when all the lightsabers
colliding with the droids, it was like Lord of the Rings style Star Wars, which was great. And then we got introduced to the clones. I felt like the clones were they're just a cool way to have they had the origin of Boba Fett and the origins of stormtroopers in this one movie, which is pretty cool.
And Boba Fett wasn't even, back when it came out, wasn't supposed to be a big character. Mm-hmm. And now
they fleshed him out. He's a little kid in this movie, and he's got background, which is pretty cool. He's a clone of Jango, and it's crazy how Boba is tied in with the stormtroopers. They're are all together in like a weird twisted family.
Yep. It was really cool how they did that, and with Camino being a really interesting planet.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
yes.
The planets in
prequels
this.
like had like the best planets, and it's because they weren't limited like they were back in the day. Like they used the forest, snow, and sand, and that's all they could do back in the day. But now we can do way more with all the effects, and it was cool.
Water full of, or world full of water. How cool is that? That is so cool. And they added some new planets, obviously, in episode 7, but in the
Jakku, glorified Tatooine.
They just kind of took
that cool
from the other movies, and it wasn't quite as cool.
Starkiller Base is like pretty much Hoth again. They pretty much had all 3 old classic Star Wars planets in Force Awakens. It wasn't that.
Just put it right in one.
Come on, guys! Like
that's what makes this movie so much better.
Yeah,
I think, and I.
Are you saying you like Attack of the Clones better than Force Awakens? Is that what you're saying?
That's what. Okay, let me phrase that. That's a part of this movie that is better, I think, than Episode 7. Is that they had original new planets.
Oh yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah, that works. Yeah. Wait, now that you bring that up, oh wow, like the Disney era Star Wars, it's still so new, it's still so fresh. But I'm just wondering, this is kind of controversial to say, but like, is it gonna age as well as I think the prequels has aged pretty well, and it's going into Star Wars lore. Yeah, there's a lot of people that hate them, but there's like watching Episode 7 made me miss the prequels in a weird way, because the prequels had tons of original ideas, tons of original costumes. There was nothing rehashed like Episode 7 was, like pretty much a glorified reboot of New Hope. And then, but like with the prequels, they had new stories, new planets, and tons of new creatures, awesome wardrobes, sweet lightsabers, and awesome soundtrack. And it was just like,
they started a war in this one specifically as well, which also, that's another great thing, the politics. There's a lot of politics in the prequels that you don't get in the originals, which is actually kind of nice. Mm-hmm. Like when I was little, I kind of thought those scenes were a little boring, but not boring enough that I didn't like the movies. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm older, I actually appreciate the political scenes way more, and how much cooler Padme is. Holy crap, she is so cool.
She's a great heroine.
Yeah.
And different than her mother. Like, it's so easy to, like, they could have made someone, hey, her mother be a reflection of Leia, but she had her own differences in there, and she had a lot to compete with. There's all these Jedis surrounding her, but she still kicked butt. She was brave, and Natalie Portman, I thought, portrayed that perfectly. I mean, and her like first big role as Leon the Professional, and she was a little girl in that, and she showed better acting in that than most do their adult age.
I liked her better in Star Wars than I did in the Thor movies.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
because it was more focused kind of on her. It's funny because she played the love interest still, but she played it so much better in Star Wars for some reason. It's
crazy. I remember telling my mom, it's like, Mom, I have a problem. Like, I have these weird feelings, like these stirrings about, then I felt like it needed to be a secret about, like, Natalie Portman. Like, I didn't know how it felt. Like, she awakened something in me that, like, when I saw her as a little kid and I was kind of growing into being a teenager, and it was just like, I always say I liked her before I even liked girls. Like, in a way, kind of like stealing Tobey Maguire's line from Spider-Man. Like, I liked Mary Jane before I liked girls. I liked Natalie Portman before. She was my first crush ever. Favorite actress ever. It's because of this movie. It's because of Attack the Clones.
A little off topic, but that's Emma Watson did that for me. I think.
For
Emma Watson. Yeah.
Okay.
Not that I like Harry Potter better than Star Wars. I love Star Wars, but
Emma Watson
was my Natalie Portman for you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
But Natalie Portman did such a good job in this, and it was very nice to see how everybody kind of matured from Phantom Menace to the Attack of the Clones. It was everybody matured, and not just Obi-Wan, not just Anakin, not just Padme, but I mean Palpatine,
Mace Windu.
We
got a lightsaber finally.
Yeah, we got it. Finally, and it was a purple lightsaber.
That was so cool.
Is that? Yeah. I mean, we get to see Yoda.
Yoda.
He gets to fight in this. We've not seen
the most growth ever.
Yeah, we went through so many movies without seeing Yoda fight, and finally we get to see Yoda fight. So there's a lot of good aspects about this movie, but it's probably
you call it Crouching Tiger, Hidden Muppet favorite
of maybe all this Star Wars, actually, to be honest, because there are some cheesy bits to it. The story wasn't quite as well told as in Phantom Menace, which is one of the reasons why I like Phantom Menace the best, is because of the way the story is told. The CGI is still good, the costumes are still good, wardrobe, makeup, like all that stuff is still good in this. Just the story is not as good, I feel like, as Phantom Menace. So, and it was kind of nice to not have as much Jar Jar Binks.
Oh yeah, he was gone.
Like he's basically gone.
He gave emergency powers to Palpatine. Ooh, crazy, controversial. Woo. I also love the theory of Jar Jar being like the hidden Sith. Like he was the Phantom Menace. He was the guy mastermind, and then
that could have been pretty cool.
That would have been cool, yeah. Like, and then he would have been kind of a drunken master version of for the Force, you know, just like acting stupid but really being smart. Like that would have been interesting, but I heard maybe, and then I was like, then they retracted that and made him less of a character because people hated him. I don't know, but that's an interesting theory. Probably one of my most favorite theories of Star Wars is that
it's my favorite theory. And I think if it was true, if they did change their minds and say, "Nah, let's not do what we were originally going to do. Let's add a different character in," I wish they would have done it. You know, because that would have actually made Jar Jar in the first movie more tolerable and a lot more likable. Yeah. Because he has layers.
Yeah.
Instead of just being a bumbling idiot.
Yeah, exactly. You know? That would have been interesting and way different, a different addition to Star Wars lore. You know, and wow. This movie, I give this movie to Natalie Portman. This movie's Padme's movie. Because this is definitely she does the most in this film out of the other three. And then episode 3, she's kind of put in the back burner.
She's pregnant.
She's pregnant. Although they need to add those scenes in. But Padme helped start the rebellion in episode 3 with all the deleted scenes. There's so many deleted scenes of Padme in episode 3. I don't know why they took it out. They should have kept it. Oh man! And then also this movie is a Count Dooku's movie. This is definitely the movie that Count Dooku's in the most. He's introduced. Christopher Lee is great. The late Christopher Lee. You know, rest in peace. Like. Another great performance. I mean, I thought Count Dooku was perfect role for him. I love the villains in the prequels. Like, everyone brought something new to the table and different that wasn't Vader. So you got this agile, cool Zabrak that's Darth Maul, double-bladed. And then you got this curved lightsaber that's this Count Dracula-esque Sith. You know, it's funny because, you know, he played Count Dracula in the Hammer picture, so he's perfect. Count Dracula, Count Dooku. He had this cape and his slick back hair, and he's suave. And then in episode 3, you got General Grievous, who was sick. It's like 4 arms. And
many in episode 3 had a lot because you had... Well, we'll talk about that a little more when we get to episode 3, but I want to talk about Count Dooku for a second. But you were saying is he was very interesting because that's the first taste that we get of a Jedi turning to the Sith. Yeah. Chronologically anyways, you know? But we get to see this once be Jedi who's now a Sith. And that's interesting.
That was a crazy backstory. Also,
the master of
Qui-Gon, yeah, which is like that was really cool to like find that out. I remember it's just like, whoa, that's Qui-Gon's master. He's like, I really wish Qui-Gon was here right now, you know. And he's trying to convert Obi-Wan over. It's like he would follow me. He's like, no, he wouldn't. You know, that was cool. Like, and then revealing to Obi-Wan when Obi-Wan's all locked up with like the plans more, and then him trying to overthrow the Sith was a sick scene.
That was really cool, and you gotta learn more about Qui-Gon, even though he's not in it anymore because he died. You gotta learn more about him, and I like that they added the extra layer, and it kind of makes sense why he's not on the council, as in he has a different view than most of the council members do. So I really liked it. I think this is still a good movie if you haven't seen it. It's definitely worth a watch, especially leading up to episode 8. You'd want to watch them all. Don't skip any just because people say they're dumb or they're not that good. Each movie is very important. This is still very, very important, and we kind of want to know. Well, did you like Padme? Did you like what's her name?
Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman as Padme. Did you like her playing off of Hayden Christensen and vice versa? Did you like that romance? That's kind of the most controversial thing of this movie is the cheesiness of them. And we want to know what do you think? I think it was a little cheesy, but I think it wasn't the worst. It could have been worse. It could have been way worse. We want to know what you think. Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure to check out some of our other videos and hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys next time.
I've had the most peculiar dream.
We've already reviewed Phantom Menace, so make sure you check that out. If you haven't already, go check that out. And we're gonna be reviewing the next one,
Revenge of the Sith, my favorite prequel,
on Thursday.
There's so many. Also, we just did Pirates of the Caribbean. Go watch that, the newest Pirates. We just did Thor Ragnarok. We got plenty for you.